What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what really moved it today, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi went down 6.1%, 22.69 the low, 24.91 the high, and 79 million shares being traded. 70 is the average. Although of that volume, a lot did come from algorithmic trading today. So I think there was just a certain level of suppression, not just with SoFi, it happened across the board. And so today was more of a bloodbath, and a lot of that, it wasn't just one single thing. It was a lot of different attributing factors. So of course, I think Palantir recently did get a short report. So a lot of tech names and innovative companies, their evaluations are being questioned by Wall Street. And in my opinion, I think SoFi kind of falls under that category as well. Even though they are having some kick-ass growth, Wall Street still really looks at the forward PE and says, hey, 78.31, that is way too high. So I think just Wall Street has always really struggled with that. Just luckily enough, there was always that certain level of optimism. So the market always had their eyes set on rate cuts as being the next catalyst. Unfortunately, you did have a lot of fear that was starting to kind of increase yesterday associated to Powell. So Powell is speaking this upcoming Friday, and in my opinion, the market has already priced in a 25 basis point cut for September, as well as a 25 basis point cut for October. And so when it comes down to it, if Powell comes out and says, hey, you know what? Data still isn't there this upcoming Friday, you're going to have the market really freak the hell out. So I think at the end of the day, a lot of that had to do with what kind of happened in the broader market and how things really went down. So unfortunately, I wish things turned out better. But for those of you that were kind of wishing for cheaper prices, this was kind of a dream come true. And then over and above that though, SoFi actually did put out some news first thing that caused it to get to kind of the high for today of 24.91. So unfortunately, it was good news, bad day, but the news that did come out was this right here. So SoFi partners with 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧 to power blockchain enabled international money transfers. So it looks as though I think it's only Mexico for right now. More countries are going to be added after the launch, but it basically is where someone can send money in their local currency, converts it automatically. So with this partnership, it converts it to Bitcoin, this company 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗖𝗧, and then ultimately sends it to the recipient in their local currency. So pretty interesting thing, in my opinion, to always play devil's advocate, because that's what I do. I think that the market liked this. This is why it obviously caused SoFi to go higher, but it's still not exactly what SoFi like investors truly wanted. If they were to say, hey, starting X date, we're going to be launching cryptocurrency on SoFi Invest, instantly SoFi's stock price will go up probably 10-15% in my opinion. But nonetheless though, today was just a crappy day. I did take this news and just largely brushed it under the rug, even though essentially this is fairly good. Once they add more countries, even better in my opinion. So yeah, it is what it is, regrettably. And like I mentioned, a lot of the volume did come from algorithmic trading, and you can kind of see that based on this. So this is all the flow. S, typically a lot of people always correlate that with just small retail. Those are small transactions, but at the same time, that is most likely algorithmic trading. And you can kind of see from the outflow, it was rather significant. So unfortunately, algos were kind of in full force today. Aside from that though, shorts did increase 479,000 shares. 9.4% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 110.71 million shares overall are being shorted. There is some interesting and sketchy stuff happening behind the scenes. As I mentioned in my video yesterday, for the first time in a very long time, you actually had cost to borrow average being negative, meaning multiple brokers, majority of them were all paying to people to short SoFi. Now it's completely opposite. So you have even the cost to borrow minimum back at being positive. So it's kind of crazy how this is all playing out. Moving on, looking at the options, 52 million in calls, 9.6 million in puts, 46% of all the options being done were bearish in nature. So this is the first time in a very long time that you had the overall options being bearish. So big money clearly is feeding off of just the negativity in the broader market. Bulls, on a side note, still do believe that it should be roughly around that $25 range. And theoretically, on a technical standpoint, that's kind of what was going to be coming next. And then the bears are anticipating for it to be sub pretty much between that 22 to 22.50, and ultimately that's kind of where it did close for the most part. These are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. So you had, clearly based on this, it looks as though a hedge fund just dropped SoFi. Unfortunately, we can't really tell exactly who it is, but with just based on the timestamp and the repetitive transaction, it is fair to assume that it was some hedge fund. So 18.8, 18.8, 18.8 million, 1.5 million. Maybe that 1.5 is obviously separate, but nonetheless, it looks like some hedge fund just dumped SoFi after hours. 1.6, 3.2, so a lot more other kind of transactions being done. 90.6, so a lot of big money definitely trading SoFi today. And obviously, these are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. These are all the transactions occurring on the dark pool, so still very active stuff. A lot of activity during the after hours as well. 1.08, 6.8, 1.3, 1.5, and that seems to be pretty much, or I guess there was another one right here leading into power hour, 4.5 million. So a lot of big transactions, which does match with somewhat the overall higher volume, but still a lot of that did come from algos. Aside from that though, with it closing at 22.75, it is now trading between this pivot and this S1. So 22.26 is going to be the next strong support, and then 23.32 is going to be the next strong target / resistance, followed by 24.38. So during the pre-market, it was actually above this R1, showing signs that pretty much that R2 was going to be hit. So 25.04 kind of came somewhat close, but SoFi unfortunately didn't really have enough there. And again, the broader market started to go down, so it doesn't really matter. Even if you're the best company, you're going to kind of get dragged down, regrettably. There was no new analyst ratings, no real articles coming out associated to SoFi whatsoever. On the actual chart, it is now below the ALMA, so kind of showing some signs that it does want to consolidate, similar to what happened pretty much post SoFi's earnings. Still though, above all the key pivotal moving averages, stochastic RSI, somewhat in the neutral category, so it's not really overbought nor oversold. So I think today's pull lower might actually help reset SoFi's technicals. So if you want to kind of think optimistic, glass half full type of scenario, that again could today's pullback could be good for SoFi bigger picture. But still, nonetheless, if you're wanting to dollar cost average, day trade, whatever else, just watch for these going forward. So 22.26, 21.60, followed by 20.54. Not saying that those will be hit, but I know Thursday, theoretically, the foundation is there for there to be a lot of fear. And clearly, Friday is going to be a big day. Either Friday is going to be a epic recovery, and Powell does actually mention those sweet words that the market wants to hear about how he is considering or humoring, based on the data, blah, 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 a rate cut. Flip side, if he actually does confirm all this fear that he's not even thinking about one, then yeah, anticipate more further pullback. So once again, just if you're wanting to dollar cost average, just kind of watch for all that. Let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And the one final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. Worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.